quad car, and I'd set the shot up and I'd lock it down, and then I'd go out in front of it and I'd stand there. Hello, I'm Officer Mignogna with the Ocean City Police Department. You know, and this is how you use the crosswalks. You know what? I ought to put those on YouTube, right? What you want to see is me at 23 years old in a cop uniform. Anyway. That was the long answer. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was a cop for a couple of years. It was never a career move, though. It wasn't like, I want to be a policeman for the rest of my days. No, I just thought it would be fun. I thought it would be an interesting thing right out of college, and so I did it. And then I was asked to teach acting and speech classes at a private school in Florida. And I did that for a year.
Seems like a jump from Maryland to Florida.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was all up and down that side. Went to school in South Carolina, went to school in Virginia. Mom lived in Maryland, cop in Maryland. When I graduated from college, there was a guy that was an administrator of this school, and he saw me in a play. What play was that? Camelot. It was the musical Camelot. And he came backstage after, and he goes, if we'd love to start a theater program at our school in Jacksonville, Florida. So again, I hadn't had any big, huge plans, pressing job offer waiting after college. So after the police thing, I went down to Jacksonville and taught. But it was kind of tricky because here I was, 24, teaching 17-year-old girls. Ooh, that was dangerous. You guys know what I'm talking about. I mean, I wasn't an old guy then, all right? I was a young guy, and I was right out of college. And you know what? It wasn't any kind of a seedy thing. It was just I felt more like an older brother. I felt more like a peer. You know what I mean? All the other teachers were 60 years old, and here's Mr. Mignogna, 24, right? And like after class, Mr. Mignogna, you want to come to, Chili's with us and hang out? I'm like, I got nothing else to do, and I'm not hanging out with the 60-year-old. So sure. So I would go and hang out with them, and I helped coach the football team, and I was like one of them. And like I'd put pads on and I'd hit these high school kids, you know what I mean? And we'd wrestle around and I could hold my own. I was like one of them. I wasn't the old geography teacher, Well, the old teachers didn't like that so much, They didn't like that I had this rapport with the kids. They felt like it was like, you shouldn't be such friends with them. And I'm like, well, you know what? I made a big mistake when I told the administrator of the school, I'm going to have a much bigger impact on them than you will. And that was when I left. So at the end of the school, at the end of the school year, again, it wasn't a career move. I didn't dream of being a teacher when I was little. I just thought it would be fun to do. It was an interesting opportunity, and so I did it. But right at the end of that school year, the school that I went to in Virginia bought a cable network, a television network, a Christian television network, and they asked me to come back and work as a director-producer for their television network. So I moved back to Virginia, and I shared a house with a couple of the other producers, and I worked for this television network, FamilyNet. And we would do everything. One day I would run camera for your commercial, and the next day I would run sound for her commercial, and the next day you would run sound for that I was directing. And then I would act in somebody else's, and we were all, because it was a small cable network, we would all it was a wonderful experience. You get to learn something about everything. You do everything. Lighting, writing, editing, camera, sound. Then, about a year into that time at the FamilyNet, one of my roommate producers was doing a commercial about battered women, battered wives. Very serious piece. And he couldn't find any music that he liked. It needed to be something very special and very particular. And he couldn't find anything in all the library tapes of like preset music. So he asked me if I would write something for it. Well, I'd never done that. All my songs were vocal songs. Sit at the piano and play and sing. But I thought this would really be cool. I had just bought a keyboard that, I mean, at the time, you guys, it was the coolest thing ever. It was the Korg M1, and it was the first multi-track, like polyphonic keyboard. It had an 8-track sequencer, which today is a joke, but back then, that keyboard was like light years above anything that had been yet. And I got one, and you could like, oh wow, I can play the keyboard on track 1, and then I can lay down a drum track on 2, and then I can play bass on 3 and strings, and I can add this cool sound here and blah blah blah. Suddenly I could do like you could almost like put a whole orchestrated thing together if you knew how to use it. So I used that, and I did this piece of music for my friend's battered wife spot. And the next thing I knew, I came in a week later, and my desk had 5 videotapes on it from other directors that wanted me to write music for their stuff. So suddenly I wasn't directing my pieces anymore. I wasn't running camera for your thing and running sound for your thing. I was sitting there at my desk with my keyboard with headphones on, with a television, watching these separate projects that each of these guys had given me, and writing music to it. Then I met a girl that lived in Houston, Texas, and I moved to Houston thinking, well, Houston's a much bigger city than Lynchburg, Virginia. Plenty of opportunities there. So I moved there, and I started teaching at the Art Institute of Houston. I taught video and film production and some audio courses, and then I got hired by like a production company as their staff composer. And I wrote music for ad agencies. That was my job. And then when I realized one day after being there for about 2 years, hey, you know what? I'm doing all the work, and I'm getting 10% of the, doesn't work out really well for me. So I quit, and I let all the ad agencies know that I was going out on my own, and I bought some equipment so I could create stuff from my home. And by the way, remember the M1? Well, then it was the T3, and then it was the T1, then it was the O1W, then it was the Kurzweil, then it was, and on it went. Technology kept getting better and better with synthesized keyboards, and you could do so much more with them. And I've been working for myself ever since then. So there I was in Houston, writing music for myself and doing independent projects, video projects, music projects, and that brings me to the point where we started, where I met the guy doing the video production that was working for ADV.